I'm the chairman of that task force. We have representatives of the Airport Authority, the City of Kankakee and County. We have selected a consultant, and that process is in the works now. We're going to look at land use, economic development, and the airport itself. Axion, several of you attended our Axion meeting. That is a program that I'm trying to get off the ground that will identify startup businesses and minority businesses for easier ways of getting funding to get programs and businesses off the ground. We have gotten information to Axion to fill out, get back to us. We're hoping within the next 6 to 8 weeks we'll have that to the county board in order for them to consider whether we do a microloan program. We've been working with the mayor of Kankakee. As you know, there's been a lot of discussions about ESOTAG leaving. We've been working very closely with the mayor on that issue, and also people in the area. And right now, one of the biggest concerns they have is that is surprisingly not in the enterprise zone. So we're going to be working on trying to get that property into the enterprise zone so that we can keep it moving along. Wind farms, as you know, there's some interest in the community in the area, possibly for a large wind farm in the area. We've been working closely with the county to update the land use regulations. That should be done at the end of June, and the county board passed in July. We'll continue to monitor that as companies come in to talk to us about development of one. Tim and I last week went to Grundy County. We met with the Economic Development Agency there to kind of get an idea of what an established economic development program is doing. They've been in existence for many, many years. And so we were trying to find out from them, do's and don'ts, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And they were very open to us, and we got a lot of good ideas from them. Just a note, here's a community of about 40,000 people, and they have 5 times staff. We're at 2, so I think that that does say that what's going on and what we're trying to do here. I think that's about it.
Any questions of the president?
I don't have a question. I just have to leave, so I want to get in one plug, which you already have in your information here. So if any of you have the time today, I think some of you are coming over to this event at the college, but it's the Illinois Board of Higher Education trying to take a look at how they're planning for the future and where they put the resources. And I'll tell you this, and I'll get a hold of the presentation that they're going to give after we see it, but it's got a lot of good data on the northeastern region of the state, comparing it to the rest of the state, and a lot of the population trends and the educational patterns. So it'll be a good chance to give them some input, and it'll be a great chance if you get there to see some trends that are coming down the line. So, thanks.
Any other comments from Mike?
Oh, one last thing. The morning is business session, the afternoon is education, but come to either, whatever your schedule is. Thanks.
Any other questions of Mike? Jim, want to tell us about retention?
Yeah, the retention visits they're progressing a little slower than what we had hoped. The teams that are out there are finding it really difficult to get appointments with the people that they got to talk to, the general managers or the head of the companies. We're finding that they're very reluctant to call back and schedule appointments. So it's going along, but it is going along slower than what we had anticipated. Right now, we've got about 25% of our yearly goal has been completed. But some of the things that we are finding is that most of the companies that we're talking to, they do have plans on expansion and also hiring people. One thing that most of the companies that I've been to personally, they talk about their reduction in sales in the United States, but most of them are doing business internationally. And so the international business that they've been doing has been more than making up for the sales slump in the U.S. Most of them do have plans on adding people. They do report that sometimes they have some problems hiring people because they don't have the right skill sets in electrical and logic board controllers and robotics. Everything seems to be getting a lot more advanced in the technology area, and they're having a little difficulty in finding the right employees. As we get completely done with the retention visits, all that information will be shared with everyone, but then also with the colleges and universities, so we can hopefully maybe do some recruiting and try to find out if we can find the right people that we can forward to some of these companies that are having trouble locating people with the right skills. There is one company that was told us they were contemplating a $7 million expansion. There's another company that's looking for more land so they can potentially expand. So there is good news out there from a lot of the places that we go to. It's just news that you don't hear about it unless you're out there, in their place listening and talking to them. Other projects that we're working on, as most of you know, Arctic Snow has signed a contract and a lease at the Kent Hayes Park. I've been working with them. They've hired an architect. They're in the process of designing their facility and getting up and going. I know a lot of you were at the press conference that was held a couple weeks ago, but that is ongoing, and they're somewhat time consuming, spending time over there. They've got to hire a lot of people to help them out to get that thing up and going. Most of you also know that the area jobs is now the official owner of the B&J storage facility. That's the long, narrow storage facility that's on the west side of the Kent Hayes Park. We came to an agreement with the owner of that, and then we purchased that. And one of the reasons that purchase was necessary was a portion of that building was probably going to have to be torn down to give Arctic Snow access on the west side of the buildings for their shipping and receiving. Right now, we're in the process of working with the former owners of B&J Storage to get all the leases that they had, possibly move some of their tenants to different locations at the Kent Hayes Park, so we can eventually tear part of that building down and make it facilitate for Arctic Snow. I've spent a lot of time going through all the leases and the terms of the leases that we have at the Kent Hayes Park, in the process of trying to update them. We have a lot of tenants that the leases have been ongoing. There has been a lot of attention paid to some of the increases on the leases that need to be taken care of, some of the bills that need to be sent to them for utilities and that type of thing. So we spend a lot of time on trying to get revenue that is due the alliance that hasn't been recouped in the past. I'm also spending a lot of time meeting with potential new tenants over the Kent Hayes Park. We continually get calls from people that are looking to open up businesses and spend the time over there, showing them the facilities and what we have to offer. And then finally, also the location 1, which is on our website, that is a listing of the properties that the realtors can put on the website. That is something that the Alliance is facilitating. We don't own location 1. It's just a service that we provide on our website. We've met with a couple of local commercial realtors, and we're in the process of trying to get them to list more properties on there. So national site seekers, when they're looking at Kankakee County, they've got one spot to go and find the properties, the buildings that are available. But it takes a lot of time to get rid of all the old listings that are on there and update it with the new ones. And the realtors are the ones that really have most of that information, so we're working with them on trying to get that updated. So
Expansion though on the Arctic Snow thing, that matters with Kent Hayes Industrial Park itself. That facility had years of deferred maintenance, and the things we were running into is very mind-boggling. It requires an enormous amount of funds, of which we are limited at right now. What we became aware of to us is that the fire alarm system was, I won't say antiquated, almost non-existent. And we've got a lot of people looking at that. We now have a contract, and that's in the process of putting in a new fire protection system. The chief of Bradley, the fire chief, has been quite cooperative on this, and I think he's kind of happy that something's finally being done. But the work there is enormous. Recently, we had the great rains we had last week. Water, for the first time ever, came in Building 7, and that's where they're at. We immediately had to hire somebody to go in there. We sent cameras down all the drains to see what were some of the problems were, and we got all that corrected almost within days, which made Arctic Snow happy. But they were not happy when they saw some water coming there. But we finally now have that corrected. But that is progressing. They did hire the architect. There still is no permit. I want you to know this. There still is no building permit for them to build because we don't have the plans yet. And that's really in their ballpark rather than ours. And there might be some misunderstandings. But Bradley's been cooperating tremendously on this. But when you look at what they're asking to do in there, we needed some good architectural plans. And another point here, you mentioned about the robotics and our competitiveness in the United States. For the first time, I really believe that our area can come back, and our whole United States can come back and be competitive. Some of you were there and you may have heard this, but those of you who were not there, this is really interesting. This man, Randy Strait, considered China. He considered going there because everybody else is going there, and obviously we all know what their labor force is as far as economical. He found that by using the proper technology, the robotics and the plasma cutters and some of the things that he portrayed to us, it was really interesting. And he says, I can be equally competitive here in the United States, in Kankakee County, Bradley, Illinois, as he could if he sent his product to China to have it built there. He maybe get it done a little bit more economical, but it's so close he decided to do it here. And that was good news because that will keep our people working and maybe stop this exportation of jobs somewhere else. So take a good look at this Arctic snow. I hope the man continues to do what he's doing because he believes in the United States in our area by using technology. So I think we got it right here in the United States and in our community where we can be competitive with the internationals. Any other questions, though, of the report given by Tim Nugent? The next is Chairman's report. I'd like to switch this around a little bit because we're running out of time. I'd like to go to the board members' reports and comments. Please, in the interest of time, limit your dialogue, your report to a short period of time. Give the bullets and keep your editorializing down to a minimum. Boys, that an encouragement for you to talk. So I'll start with Ann Bernard over here. Would you like to say it again?
Well, I have to get to a highway committee meeting, and I would just urge, I talked to Mike about this before, but I would urge you to look at doing more and more to help make our area energy independent. Look at what they did in Oakland, California. That's a very economically depressed area. They put 250 people to work building solar panels, and I really think our focus should be on green collar jobs. That's the way of the future. Create energy jobs, they stay here in America. I have to finish my next meeting. Thanks.
Joe, may I interject? I have to go to the same meeting,
okay,
if you don't mind.
Yes,
I just
go ahead.
I just wanted to comment on one positive aspect. I ran into a young couple, private entrepreneurs in the area. They were having trouble getting a loan. They were on the verge of closing down their business. I spoke with them last night and was very happy that they found a local business, like local bank, that was willing to step forward and give them a loan. When I first talked to them, I gave them Mike's phone number and so forth. I don't know where they got their information, but they did get the loan, a small business that was saved by the active innovation of a local lending institution, and I think that's a positive thing. I just wanted to.
I think that might be one, Bob, that I had gotten a call and I referred them to Ken maybe, and that might be one, I'm not sure.
But it's positive, which
If I may go to the county board members first, Jim Vickery.
I have no report.
Mike? Leo?
Yes, I'm glad to see Turk Furniture move on to the K's merchandise building, and we still have two open buildings on 50, the Walmart and the car lot.
Kelly? Did I have anything? I think I have, okay, all the county board members are covered. Which incidentally, the county board members always have 9 o'clock meetings, and it's very difficult. Well, it's the county board member meeting, and it happens every at almost every meeting, there is some considerations of changing the site to a location closer to the county building. Because of that, and we'll follow up on that a little bit further. We chose this site because it's neutral, it's certainly common, and maybe we may have to adjust that so that people don't have to leave so early.
Also, next month, we're going to have
Moving on, Carl and Cruz, you're part of the county board member, aren't you?
They can handle them all. I'll just editorialize one thing, and that is, you know, I sat here while Lisa was giving her presentation, and, you know, I have to believe and wonder what happened 2 years ago with everything that's going on now, trying to get a list of capital projects and everything. And, you know, with the group that's been pulled together here, you know, I've watched this mature with how to get these capital projects on the list and everything else over the last 3 months. And I think it just goes to show what this group can do, what can get pulled together, and how they can represent the whole community. So I'm glad that she's working with the Kankakee Alliance and every kind of get out to get this done. So it's huge for our county and our communities. Second thing is the transportation bill that you talked about with the mass transit. Means about $1.6 million to $1.7 million coming to our community in this fiscal year, and that will increase next fiscal year. So both the metro system and Bus will be extending services that are greatly needed throughout our community, especially with the energy costs. Huge impact.
Well, when you
Trade Summit, all is set for July 29th.
Mike O'Brien.
My name is Michael O'Brien. I'm at Homestar Bank. I'm here today on behalf of the Kankakee Chamber of Commerce and my role there as chairman of the board. Wanted to come to this meeting today to express our support for everything the Alliance and the EPA is doing. Similar to what Carl said, I think there's a lot of progress that's been made and doing good things. And the chamber and our members really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm going to go to board members and then back like that time. Beth, please.
I am very brief. Manpower released the Employment Outlook Survey, its quarterly survey, on Tuesday, and the good news is that for the third quarter of this year, no one on our survey projected job cuts. So, just get that out there.
Chad Miller.
Thanks for the opportunity. Also, I'd like to echo Mr. O'Brien's comments. I think everybody here at this table is here with the exception of a few people that's interest were piqued by the articles in the journal, but I think everybody's here for the most part because we believe what the Alliance is doing and support your work, and appreciate it greatly. From the Farm Bureau side, we do have a Salute to Agriculture function coming up June 28th, the Kankakee County the downtown Kankakee Farmers Market. It's going to be a good event celebrating our #1 industry here in the county. There'll be activities, projects, things like that for the whole family. So come out there June 28th. Otherwise, as you know, it's been a struggle for the farmers to get their crops in this spring. But hopefully things will get in and come together and be another good crop season.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you. Incidentally, please state not only who you are, but who you're representing. James?
No comment.
No comments. Matt? No. 2 minutes. Okay.
Greg Blanchett, Lockville, Illinois. I'm just here also to express my support and look forward to working. I'm the new Vice President Regional Manager down here in Kankakee, and look forward to working with the Alliance to help bring some prosperity to the region. We have a $9 million capital improvement project being ready to be rolled out here in Kankakee, so hopefully that'll bring some jobs and some stimulus to the local economy.
Joe.
Joe Nugent with Nugent Curtis Real Estate. I'd like to echo some of the other comments, I guess, too, is that a lot of times, let's see, my company or John's company are the first point of contact with the company into the area, and we've had that for the last several years. It's been a disconnection with knowing what the programs were and everything available to different companies when they come down and why they should come to Kankakee County, and luckily the Alliance and the EDA that has helped us with that.
Thank you, Joe. Greg Spathis is here. He might be behind the pillar. If he is, I can't see him. Good evening. Okay, I was hoping to call upon him to introduce Lori. So, Lori, would you introduce yourself and to the group?
Sure. I'm Lori Sear. I am the new community development coordinator for the Village of Riverdale. I started last Monday, so I'm just getting my feet wet in enticing development and retention of residents in the Village of Riverdale.
Thank you. Comment probably important here. She's with economic development, and I think there's a perception sometimes that we, the Alliance, want to do all the economic development, and that we don't think cities or villages should have their own economic developers. That is false. We really feel everybody should have their own economic development person, because we do not do retail. Not that we won't give, in fact we do give a lot of information, but our charge is really for industrial and industrial jobs. On the retail section and things of that nature, or the true business part of it, that economic development falls on the Chamber of Commerce's, it falls on actually the villages as they hired Lori to do. Lori certainly can do industrial, but if she has problems there, and I'm just using Lori's example, if she has problems within the industrial area and can't take care of it in Bourbonnais, Illinois, what we would hope then is that Lori or any other economic development person that is part of some program would then contact us so that we could then take it to the maybe the proper sites. So I'm glad that Lori come and represent the Village of Bourbonnais, but also say she's economic development, and she's more than welcome to come in. Thanks, Lori, and hope you have a lot of success. Jeff Bennett.
Jeff Bennett, commercial, and I think segue into what Joe said. A couple quick comments. The industrial interest in Kankakee County remains at a pace, I think, unequal. Even though sometimes there's confusing reports, maybe in the journal, with what's going on. Arctic snow was a great example of that. Village Bradley working with Joe, Mike Van Mill, and Tim Nugent. It's really quite a project, and I think we'll all be proud of that as it goes forward. Kankakee County worked with Greg Yates on the Sportsplex, on the expansion of the enterprise zone. Mike Van Mill was really the driving force behind all the efforts. And when that happens, Kankakee, Bradley, Bourbonnais, Aroma Park, and the county all passed an intergovernmental agreement to see that happen. So again, an effort and that cooperation for Yates to go spend about $4 million. I think he's ordering the steel today. It's a leap of faith on his part. Financing became tough. That's why it's slow, but he's moving forward. And then finally, there's a project that's Mike brought initially to the table where a very sophisticated site finder that had done work previously in Bourbonnais on a 150,000 square foot warehouse distribution center. We've continued to make cuts, and I think we're down to the final pieces of that, and the meetings being organized with Mike and the Village of Bourbonnais in July to see if we can get over the hump. So I think the momentum begins, and I think that's what Joe's alluding to. And the sense is that there is this opportunity for industry to come in Kankakee County and be profitable, and that's really what I think you've seen in your vision has been, Carl and Joe, all along to get us to this point. We have some of the successes that are forthcoming, and I really think they are.
Any other comments from the comment like Lee? Pennies when I ask her, or Mark, or
no comment.
Anyone else? Anyone else? I'll make a couple of comments relative to some of the reports that's going on here. That we are a new organization. I hope people lose sight of that. We're really about 11 months old, and we really had one full-time employee for about 6 months. We now have 2 full-time employees for another 3 to 4 months. So we can only do so much with that many people. And I think the expectations by some people of what we should have done is totally inappropriate. again, we have like 1.5 people for the last 11 months. And to expect all of these things to be done, and you've heard me say this several times about the number of people that we have and what our budget is, and that's the combined budgets of obviously the county and EDA, is, you know, the expectations is way out of line. And if anybody has any questions about our budgets, or they have any questions about our work schedule, please call us. We can share with you what we're doing. But remember, we only got so many hours in the day, and most of us are volunteers. Sometimes I wonder why we volunteer, because as I was told several times by several people, Joe, no good deed goes unpunished. So when we sit up here, take shots at us if you want to, because pretty soon we'll get new personnel in here, and I think the new personnel will probably have it a lot easier than we did. I want to compliment the county, and they're not here unfortunately right now. There's a lot of them left. We still have 2 representatives here. But the cooperation in this last 11 months of putting together a very complex public-private partnership has been not easy. You heard Representative Dugan how difficult it is in making the process work with government. I have a better understanding and a more compassionate feeling about the county board members than I did in the past. I see the complexity of working with them because we went through that. And now I understand why it does take time. And in order to do things properly, it just simply takes time. The service agreement, this was the first time we ever did a service agreement in this area. It was unheard of. It's a hybrid. And when we finally got it done, yes, it wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to move on. And because of that service agreement, we did certain things a certain ways. And then this time we hope that because we have experience and we talked to other communities, that the service agreement will be better than what it was. But it will be improved. But I want to say this, the cooperation that we've had in Kankakee County Board to bring about this public partnership has been outstanding. And I also then want to compliment even the private sector as to how they invested their time. There were times, the first 4 or 5 or 6 months that we met every week. Jim, agree with that? And a lot of the other guys are gone. Every week we met to try and bring this to fruition. And we volunteer. We don't get paid for this. So I want you to know a lot of effort has gone into this by a lot of quality people. And those quality people deserve to be complimented. And I want to compliment you. We look at our website. We have Lisa Wogan here now, and she's doing a nice job. We put together. And then take a look at our website, and that will tell you a lot of what we're doing. Ironically, and Lisa's going to be surprised at this, you want to hear what we're doing, you want to see what we're doing, take a look at the outbreaks office. She's here photographing us all the time. I feel very comfortable about it, but you know what? I don't know that it stops me from saying what I want to say. So if you want to look at what we're saying, actually what's going on, call up WW Outreach, I think, and you'll get that. So between our website and between the Outreach website, I think you'll learn a lot about us. Any comments?
Joe, one thing on that 6,000 North Road. Somewhere off in the future, we need an east-west corridor. Okay, so, I mean, I understand don't put all our eggs in one basket. I get the message. But Carl's worked on this, and we've got to have some east-west corridor here. Indiana's terrible. There's no east-west roads in Indiana unless you go to Indianapolis or go to Ames. Okay, I just went down to Louisville the other day, and I want to tell you something. You go across Route 10, it's terrible. So somewhere down the line, we've got to have an east-west corridor, especially with the growth in this container loading that's going on. So, I mean, somewhere down the line, that has got to be part of the plan. Okay, I know the mayors have got to look at their things. I know the county's got to look at their, I'll tell you, there's east-west corridor. And off in the future, if we don't do something, you're going to have homes built there. Indiana's running into that right now. And the residents over there, no road, you know, big signs in their yard, no road, no road. Okay. So, but somewhere down the line, there has to be an east-west corridor.
And that is a priority of the state project.
As long as Jim brought that up, let me give you a viewpoint from the Alliance. Mike and I, for that matter, Tim, authored a letter to Bouchard and Hassard that listed 3 projects, which we were criticized for, maybe appropriately so. But let me give you our viewpoint of why we did what we did. And believe me, we work very well with Lisa. I mean, we really do. But there is times when you have to make quick decisions for reasons that I think you can imagine. We listed 3 projects. One of them was the East Core program. That certainly is countywide. We feel 6,000 North is countywide. We feel the airport is countywide. So we took those 3 programs, which we got out very quickly. At that time, we did not have all of the mayor's programs in. To give a partial list and not all the list, can you imagine what kind of problems we'd had on that? I mean, the other mayors would be pretty upset with us. So rather than do a partial list, and we felt that we had to give them something from Kankakee County, because they were here, they did hold a forum, and we felt that we had to do that, because we were told that there was a certain period of time that this had to go in, and in fact, I think it did go into the governor's office probably a few days or a week after this. Could be wrong on that, but I want to explain why we did those 3. We definitely will work with Lisa, and we do work with her, and I wouldn't even want her job. They can't pay her enough money to do what she's doing, but I think collectively we are working very well together, and now, and only now, do we have only Lisa's mayor's capital projects. We just got them all. We still do not have Kareem Gordon's mayors. There's still a couple over there. So to give only a partial list, that would not be good. And but we're getting the cooperation. But think of that. We have right now all of Lisa's constituents' wish list in. Now they can do what is appropriate. Talk to the mayors and come up with their 5, and then ultimately what Lisa and maybe Jim Rockwood, what we think would be the most appropriate. But I want an understanding as to why we did the 3 that we did. We made a decision, and you know what? I'll never criticize anybody for making a decision if it's wrong, but I sure will criticize people if they don't make any decision at all. Any other comments? Carl?
Jim, just a reminder, we had a meeting with Will County. That was after the last meeting. We always met with Larry Walsh and someone from Will County. Talked about a number of issues that were important to both counties, the critical commerce corridor being one of them. And I think that's something that we need to really continue on. I was very pleased with the comments that they had with the study that's been going on with that. So it's something that we need to continue to work with them on, and it would help at least, I know immensely, if we can get both counties agreeing on that too. So, but there again, that's another huge, major east-west corridor that needs to be looked at, hopefully identified and protected.
Any other comments? Any new business? Old business? Last chance. Any comments? I'll take a motion for adjournment.